We have a treat for y'all guys. The sun and my yacht has a show for y'all. We're gonna do it the Moor's way, you feel me? So this is Force. This is the first time we've done this. The first time it's on the Amazon Bay show. Watch out now. Moor's is back. Yes, sir.
Let me get this real quick. Make sure we're reading along.
And while they doing it, any other mother want to bring something to the table? Because when I said mothers, I was talking about all of y'all. You want to do it anyway. It's open. And afterwards, you feel me? But we got to be out here by 5 o'clock.
Indeed.
So we need everybody's help, you know what I'm saying? So if you believe in the day, have a safe trip. If you stay, I'm pretty sure you've got the contact. I'll be great places where to go or whatever you feel. Just contact me. So just let me know. I'm sorry, bro. I ain't still your girl, bro.
I'm just saying, you said 5 o'clock, so I was like, all right, 5 o'clock.
So we're just gonna put the instructions out first before we go through the obligation ceremony. This is from the Moorish literature. Prophet sends marriage law to all temples. All marriage ceremonies of members of Moorish Science Temple of America must be performed by an ordained minister and the head of the temple. So in this case, being that I'm the divine minister and grand sheik, we don't need to have a preacher or whatever here to do whatever. And any man desire to take unto himself a wife and receive our Moorish rights, he must go to City Hall and receive his license to be registered in that city, county, and state. During Noble Drew Ali's time, that was Republican form of government. So City Hall would have been an actual post, not a corporate jurisdiction like they have today that people run to, right? So just so that when you hear Moors try to push Moors to do things with the city, know that those individuals are actually working for the democracy, because during Drew Ali's time, we were talking about republic form of government, not democracy. So as soon as they say, oh, Moors should get a license, Moors should pay taxes, Moors should do whatever relative to the corporate state, know that they're working for the other side, because Drew Ali would not have endorsed going to democracy form of government to do anything, even though it says go to City Hall and all that, right? It then must be turned over in the hands of aforesaid ordained minister and head of a temple after it has been properly signed by the city official. Come again, the city officials is really us. We got our own seals, we got our own things relative to how government's supposed to run. The price thereby for such administering to man and wife will be $5. For all those who have their papers and desire our Moorish marriage ceremony, it is $3. We Moors cannot marry no one, but we obligate you, according to our divine laws and covenant of the law of the land. This must be proclaimed and made known to every member, so there will be no misunderstanding. There will be no misunderstanding about I, the Prophet, and my teachings, because Allah alone binds two hearts together as a unit. So this has nothing to do with us. They already did it already. We're just going through the process because, you know, just like the process of identification is have a card, right? So the process of going through, you know what I mean, the formality is you have a head, and then they do the stuff, and right? So we're just going through the motions. These are the marriage obligations and instructions for man and wife. Chapter 22 from our Quran is to be read first to the husband, and chapter 21 is to be read secondly to the wife. These are the instructions of marriage from our holy Quran. Please obey the law as given to you by your prophet through your governor. Right, which again, Grand Governor again is another one of the titles that I have. So that's why we're reading this, so that you're getting the instructions from the governor, from your governor, right, as to what the protocol is if we say that we're Moors. That it's not about going to those people to get them to do anything when we already have our stuff, right? So, chapter 22 Chapter 22, duty of a husband. So I know we don't got the rings and stuff, we can play hands or the rings, so if you guys do. Right. Chapter 22, duty of a husband. Wake unto thyself a wife, and obey the ordinance of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife, and become a faithful member of society. But examine with care, and fix not suddenly on thy present choice. On thy present choice depends thy future happiness. If much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if she is enamored with her own beauty and delighted with her own praise, if she laugheth much and talketh aloud, if her foot abideth not in her father's house, and her eyes with boldness rove on the faces of men, though her beauty were as the sun in the firmament of heaven, turn thy face from her charms, turn thy feet from her paths, and suffer not thy soul to be ensnared by the allurements of imagination. But when thou findest sensibility of heart, joined with softness of manners, and accomplished mind, with a form agreeable to thy fancy, take her home to thy house. She is worthy to be thy friend, thy companion in life, thy wife in thy bosom. O cherish her as a blessing sent to thee from heaven. Let the kindness of thy behavior endear thee to her heart. She is the mistress of thy house. Treat her therefore with respect, that thy servants may obey her. Oppose not her inclinations without cause. She is the partner of thy caress. Make her also the companion of thy pleasures. I just want to put this out there. You could vouch for this one because mother made son go to bed last night and wanted to go chill with the boys and stuff like that. So, opposing not her inclinations is already going down.
Indeed.
Because Moor went to bed last night.
Yes, I did.
Reprove her faults with gentleness. Exact not her obedience with rigor. Trust thy secrets in her breast. Her counsels are sincere. Thou shalt not be deceived. Be faithful to her bed, for she is mother of thy children. When pain and sickness assault her, let thy tenderness soothe her affliction. And look from thee of pity, and love shall alleviate her grief, or instigate her pain, and be of more avail than 10 physicians. Consider the tenderness of her sex, the delicacy of her frame, and be not severe to her weakness, but remember thine own imperfection. Chapter 22. Chapter 21. Marriage instructions for man and wife from the noble prophet. Give ear, fair daughter, of love to the instructions of prudence, and let the precepts of truth sink deep in thy heart. So shall the charms of thy mind add luster to the elegance of thy format and thy beauty. Like the rose it resembleth, shall retain its sweetness when its blossom is withered. In the spring of thy youth, in the morning of thy days, when the eyes of men gaze thee with delight, and nature whispereth in thine ear the meaning of their looks. Ah, hear with caution their seducing words. Guard well thy heart, nor listen to their soft persuasions. Remember thou art made a man's reasonable companion. Remember thou art made as man's reasonable companion, not the slave of his passions. The end of thy being is not merely to gratify his loose desire, but to assist him in the toils of life, to soothe his heart with tenderness, and recompense his care with soft endearments. Who is she that winneth the heart of man, that subdueth him to love, and reigneth in his breast? Lo, yonder she walketh in the maiden's sweetness, with innocence in her mind and modesty on her cheek. Her hand seeketh employment, her foot delighteth not in the gating abroad. She is clothed with neatness, she is fed with temperance. Humility and meekness are as a crown of glory circling her head. On her tongue dwelleth music, the sweetness of honey floweth from her lips. Decency is in all her words.